welcome you to the draft Water Race Bylaw hearings and deliberation meeting. Where first up we'll start with the sort of a brief rundown of how the meeting works. First we have the hearing submissions. This is the first information gathering part of the meeting. And as there is no submitters appearing to be heard in support of the submissions, we'll go straight to the summary of feedback and work through that page by page. Questions posed by submitters to Council are not formally answered in this setting. Specifically, common questions are often answered in a response to submitters at the end of the process. Questions to officers are normally dealt with in deliberation phase, so that's later in the piece. And the chair I can vary anything we like, so that's always good to hear. So first off, we'll go straight and start with the hearing and submissions part. And I'll go across to Richard to kick that into gear.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you'll see on page 3 of the summary of feedback, we received 2 submissions, and neither of those submitters have asked to be heard. All the submissions were received on time. The summary of feedback, page 4, both of our submitters indicated that the Council's preferred option 1, was also their preference. I think at this point, Mr. Chair, unless you want further background introductory comment, I think we're just straight into page 5.
Yeah, I've just got a quick question, Richard. Were you surprised to see just 2 submitters? Were you expecting more than that?
I probably wasn't expecting a lot more than that. Not that people don't care about the water races, but the scope and nature of the changes here are actually quite minor. So, no, not unduly surprised. A few more wouldn't have hurt.
Thank you.
Okay, so we've got page 5, submission from Keith Gunn. Any comments from the... It's pretty much this, and there's one more submission, isn't there? Richard, I'll go with your direction. Where are we heading now?
I just suggest you work through it page by page.
Okay, yep, that's great. So page 5, anything there? Page 6. Love it.
Just going to the, like we've got one person here wanting to do suction and water races. Does it occur anywhere else? You know, thinking of fish life and that, would they survive in that situation, or anything that would go into a tank, it's just dies? Can anyone answer that one? Yeah.
Neil McCann might like to answer, although I imagine sucking up would eliminate a lot of the life that might be tucked away in the sediment or between rocks. But Neil might like to comment on the suitability of such a cleaning system. This is the reference from Stephen McLaughlin on page 6 to cleaning the races by suction.
Yeah, I'd have to look into the details of that and see what's involved and how how it's done. If there is risk of damage to the environmental, the fish, etc. I don't know. Not quite sure how it's physically done.
Any more comments, Councillor Lovett?
Yeah, because I know with the bucket system, at least the fish can go back in, and eels, I mean, they do travel on land and it's more humane, but today we have little wee diggers, miniature diggers, that can go and clean some of these ones out.
Councillor McMillan?
Thank you. I was just jumping ahead to page 7, but there's a bit of commentary from the staff on the sucker truck saying it's less environmentally friendly method of race cleaning, etc., and they're seeking feedback from AEC. So I guess that will all come through as well.
Any more on page 7? No, thank you. Page 8. One sentence. That's all. Any more general comments on the two submitters' proposals or submissions? No, thank you. So I'll hand back to you, Richard, now. Where do we head now?
At this point, I've got a few slides just to work through that hone in on the issues and the officer response, and then some recommendations at the end. So the purpose today is to consider the submissions, to decide your response to matters that have been raised by the submitters, and then to give direction to officers on any changes required to the bylaw, so that we can bring it back to council for adoption on 3rd of September. I should add, I'm happy to take questions at any of these slides. So the first submitter was Mr. Gunn. He supported council's preferred option. He didn't seek any change to the bylaw. Mr. McLaughlin also expressed support for council's preferred option. He noted that he expected some races and some council involvement, including a bylaw, to continue. He supported the protection of cultural and ecological values. He did disagree with the blanket 6 metre unplanted zone in 10.1.15.2d, with a particular reference to residential areas. And he submitted that the bylaw should be amended to allow for a landowner to use an alternative method of race cleaning where a 6 metre clearance is not maintained, and he gave the example of a sucker truck.
Councillor Ellis?
Thank you. If you have a water race going through your property and it's your responsibility to keep it clean and clear, there is no direction from council how you do that in the policy, is there? So if you wanted to use a sucker truck to do that, you can?
That's my understanding, yes. If it's a local race as opposed to a main race,
Yes.
then the landowner has a responsibility to keep it clear, but there's no direction as to how that should be done.
Just to confirm that, it's a local race, the landowner is responsible for paying for that cleaning. That's probably the big one. But a council race, the council does that surface, the main races.
Yes.
Councillor McMillan?
Thank you. Just on the comment around the blanket 6 metre unplanted zone, how did we come up with that 6 metre? Was that in the original bylaw, or was that something that we discussed in the workshop?
So that's been a provision of the bylaw for quite some time. I think as long as we've had a bylaw, we've had the 6 metre rule.
Yep.
The only thing that we changed about this in the bylaw is that we put in to Schedule 3 an illustration of what we meant, which is on this next slide here.
That's right, yep.
But the 6 metre provision didn't change.
Okay,
And
I'm happy to keep it at 6 metres then.
Councillor Hooper?
What about for residential houses, though? Is there not... that's what he's sort of saying. He disagrees with the blanket 6 metre because of residential. If you've got a water race running through your residential house, surely we should allow them to make, you know, a nice natives either side of it or whatever they want, as long as they're responsible for cleaning it. And also there was something in here about the likes of diggers leaving track marks in lawn and things like that as well. Is that coming up and we need to discuss that, or? should we discuss the blanket, especially for residential, in this point?
In your hands, Mr. Chairman, whether you wanted to talk about that. We
Oh,
do address it, at least in part, in the officer recommendations.
Which pages, where's that? To clarify ourselves here.
Actually, it's on a couple of slides. The first of them is this one. And in regard to the question from Councillor Hooper, point 4, obviously local race cleaning is at the discretion of the adjoining owner. So if it's a local race that they adjoin and they choose to plant something within 6 metres, then it becomes their problem to deal with. And so I wouldn't expect that we would necessarily have a concern with that. Okay. Mayor Brown is a little sceptical about my answer, so he might know it better than I do.
Lynette, can you perhaps push the button so that Councillor Hooper can perhaps follow up the question? Mayor Brown pushes. I can't see. Yep, thank you.
We've got the word blanket in there, so are they actually going to be breaking our bylaw if they go ahead and plant it? Because we've got.
I think blanket was Mr. McLaughlin's word, because the bylaw does go on to enable some flexibility, but we can, if we don't think that the flexibility sought is going to produce a good outcome in terms of race maintenance, then we could, in particular circumstances, decline if we thought there were good reason to.
Mayor Brown?
Yeah, if the race is planted in a section in town or out in the district, and it's not our problem, it does become our problem when it can't be cleaned practically because it's been planted and time lapses and it has to be cleaned and you can't. It does become our problem.
Councillor Lovett?
I was just going to add to that, the 6 metre, whatever it is, that was set so a tractor and a bucket can go down and lift out all the spoils out of the water race onto the bank, and then it can be taken away. And the plantings on one side, and it specifies which side, and that is to enable a cleaner of the tractor or whatever they're using to clean. And if we take all that out, next thing you've got people planting, and a lot of these plants, if we have a major flood, they get loose and they're blocking up all the culverts, and the problems carry on right down the line from farm to farm. So I think we need a whole, one rule for everybody to follow to keep the district clear. And I think the suction, we should actually probably put that into our bylaw, because if we allow it somewhere next thing, the next person's doing it and the next person's doing it, and then you're going to have no eels, no fish, no nothing in the water races. So at the moment we're in control of the destiny of these races, and I think we need to bear in mind we're the custodians of them, and we need to have one plan to fit all.
Councillor Ellis?
Thank you. I think we need to remember here, though, a lot of people don't want these races. We're asking them to pay for them, keep them clean, leave 6 metres of their own personal land available for other people to get in there and clean these things. There's not much fairity around this, I don't believe. I just think we need to be very, very careful what we're asking people to do for something they're paying for and then getting no compensation for setting aside their own land to do this on.
Councillor Hooper?
Thank you. Councillor Lovett, I was talking about residential properties. Mayor Brown, if, like you say, it becomes our problem because somebody in town hasn't cleaned their section of the water race and they've got some nice natives either side of it or what have you, do we not then instruct them to clean their section of the race?
We'll go to Councillor Mackle first.
Yeah, this bylaw, just in response to Russell's comment, is basically for consideration of other users. and whether the land's been put aside for, if it's privately owned, it is a consideration for other people, including council.
Yeah, we can make them clean it, but they'll come up with every excuse as to why they cannot do it. And the cost will be way up because there's impediments in the way, and they will argue, and I know this from experience from other things, that people will argue that it's way too expensive and have every excuse for not doing it. And then council becomes the bad boys.
Okay. Could you clarify for us, so we talked about before about races that are, say, council races, when I say they're all council races, but main ones, which the council clean, and local races, which the landowners clean. So ones through residential towns, are they classed as, does the council clean them, or who pays to clean them?
Mill Creek.
Mill Creek is probably the best example. Or, yep. Who pays to clean that?
I can't personally confirm whether Mill Creek is a main race or a local race, but the rules would apply. If it's a main race, then it will be cleaned by the council, and if it's a local race, it will fall on the landowner in the first instance.
So because the race through an urban environment's not, their people aren't rated for that normally because it's just getting from A to B. I would assume, don't know who, I don't think the landowner will be paying to clean it. I'm sure it'll be the council will be paying to clean it. So effectively, the bylaw's in place to protect the council so that it has the ability to do it in a cost-effective manner. Otherwise, if we had sucker trucks cleaning all of Milk Creek, the cost would be exponentially and would be paid for by the users currently, not by the urban rates. So we can't afford to have that outcome happen.
Mr. Chairman, I wonder if we can just clarify when Mr. McCann returns to the meeting as to the payment around Mill Creek, because I know it's a potentially more complicated waterway than just a water race. So I'm not completely sure that the maintenance of Mill Creek, for example, falls to those particular water race ratepayers. So we just need to check that. But I see he's just ducked out of the room for a moment.
Councillor Lovett.
I was just going to ask, can we just have clarification what other water races in town that council own? Because there's one over in Tunwald, is that Eken or is that ours that run between those houses? Just nice to know which.
I can probably clarify that from the water race closure process. All the water races that are rateable are very clearly mapped out. So if it's not rateable, it's effectively not paid for by the rating person because it's not a stock water race as such. It's just a gap. I see Neil. Mr. McCann's come back to the meeting. So the question is, in an urban environment, who pays to clean the water race? Like if we use Mill Creek as an example, who's responsible for the cleaning of that?
Council is.
Thank you. So that's quite clear. The council pays to clean Mill Creek. So that's
Yes, we have ACL do that annually. Yeah.
Thank you.
But I wonder if the follow-up question, Mr. Chairman, is which group of ratepayers pays for that cleaning?
Yes, it's regarded as stormwater. It's part of the stormwater budget.
That's not a stock water race.
That's not a stock water.
Not a stock water
Okay.
budget.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Okay, thank you. So probably the question from that, how does that influence the view around the 6 metres? Anybody got any? Councillor Hooper?
Well, I'm guessing that it's because that's not a stock water race that they could plant natives right beside it if they wanted to because it's cleaned out manually. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes.
Yep. So
Are there any stock water races that go through residential sections?
So I'll rephrase that question. There is some, yes, and we could,
Through town.
Mr. McCann could.
Yes, that's correct. They are, especially through Ashburton.
So do we enforce the 6 metre clear zone on those stock water races when they go through residential properties.
No, we don't.
So why is it in our policy then?
In the rural area.
We're just waiting for an answer.
We typically have applied it in the rural area. It probably should be stated that that is referencing just the rural area, not the urban.
These stock water races go through Methven, Chertsey, Mount Somers, Fearton, Hines.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, they go through a lot.
We are talking about the integrity of the system, so we have to be careful that the ratepayers of Ashburton won't want to pay a lot more for their stormwater if we're having to suck clean races everywhere. So we just need to be very careful. That's the reason the 6 metres is in there, to ensure that they can be cleaned. Councillor Hooper?
Will the addition of the word rural sort things out?
Could you clarify for me the Methven one through the new subdivision on the top side of Methven? What's that called? That has a main water race run through it, and that has been identified as one of the problem areas, potentially being able to clean it. Okay.
Time stream you're referring to. And that has a setback that was put in when they did the development, which was only 4 metres, and that's actually causing us issues because they've planted the side of the race and they've put the fence at 4 metres, but we can't actually fit a normal digger and truck down through there to clean it and remove the material. We have to engage smaller machinery to do it. And we do damage the plantings occasionally.
Thank you. So is there a willingness to change the bylaw? Or Councillor Ellis?
Well, obviously we need to delineate between rural and residential, whether it becomes residential D as well, or how far you want to, rural A maybe where you start with the, But if we're not enforcing it in town, you can't have it in the bylaw, otherwise it's pointless.
Okay, so how could that be achieved? Richard, do you have a...
I was just looking at the wording in the bylaw. So there's 2 clauses that play into this. The first is actually 7.9, which says that the owner or occupier will allow access to machinery used for race cleaning. And that is now linked to clause 10.115(2)D. And the figure 1, the illustration that was on the slide before. And then 10.115 is about planting. And it says that you can plant any tree, hedge, shrub or other plant within a distance of 3 metres except 4, and there's a requirement for a strip of not less than 6 metres wide adjacent to one side of the water race. So you can have it up to 3 on one side, but you must have 6 on the other.
Do we still not need one side clear so you can actually clean it? Because if we allow planting right up to the edge, is what the bylaw is saying, that one side needs to be kept clear. We still need that everywhere, otherwise it becomes impossible to clean, does it not? Councillor Hooper?
Well, if ACL are doing the residential ones manually, then they won't need one side like that. And if you've got 2 properties backing onto something running through, then who's the 6 metre and who's the 3 metre?
It's a good question, and it's further compounded by the waterway having a number of ways of being described. So we've already heard that Mill Creek, for example, that ACL is repairing in the manner or maintaining in the manner you describe, is being, for the purposes of that cost centre, being regarded as a stormwater drain. So that repair isn't falling to the stock water ratepayers, and presumably, although it has multiple functions as a creek, the regulations of the bylaw would be at least complicated as it relates to Mill Creek when the maintenance is being charged as a stormwater matter. So it's clearly complex because of the nature of some of these waterways having multiple functions.
Councillor Hooper?
Thank you. Question for Chrissy and Neil. Time stream, could that be manually cleaned similar to Mill Creek and avoid issues of not getting digger down there and busting up planting, etc.?
Yes, it obviously will probably take more effort and a bit more budget to do that, but as Chrissy said, we can do it with smaller machinery.
Just to clarify that, Millstream, it's sort of 3 metres wide there and about 600-700 deep, isn't it? So it's quite a reasonable wide body, water body to be cleaning with a drain drag, isn't it? It's, if you know, it's not just a wee creek, it's quite a big waterway.
That's correct, yeah.
Can you confirm if it was a stormwater drain, is the bylaws protecting stormwater drains to be able to clean them?
I'd have to check with Mr. Guthrie. Yeah. Don't know.
Okay, so why I'm asking that question is if a stormwater drain is protected by a setback to be able to clean it, the same outcome would happen, whichever way you looked at it. So I'd be interested to find out if there's a bylaw to protect stormwater drain cleaning on the same logic that we have for stock water one, because that would then answer Councillor Hooper's question in urban environment. Can we get that question answered in some way?
Yes, I'll get onto it.
Thank you. Okay. So is there any more points there that people wish to bring up? Councillor Mackle?
When I was younger, I was told when I was looking for a job on a farm to go into the workshop and see how shiny the shovel handles were. If they were shiny, walk away. And we're now in a world where doing races manually is going to get more and more difficult to get people to do that task. And digger is the way to do things now. Health and safety, etc.
So from that, what are you saying? You're saying that...
I think we should allow for the 6 metre for machinery for these drains because, yeah, asking ACL staff, etc. in the future to manually clean stuff is going to become more and more difficult with them refusing to do such a task. Just thinking a little bit further than our own noses here.
Councillor Ellis?
But we can't do that in residential. We've already just been told it's only a 4 metre setback in Times Creek and Methven. Are you going to go along to all those people and say we need 2 metres of your land to make that legal by our bylaw?
Councillor Lovett?
Just the other point I was just going to ask, do we need to put in this bylaw, if we don't want people to do suction, should we have it in there to protect the ecosystems?
Without having a view on that particular question, remember what we're trying to do with this bylaw. The old one is expiring. We felt that we needed to have a bylaw in the meantime, but in 2 years' time we're out. And so the existing bylaw run through till the end of our exit strategy period, we wouldn't be having all these conversations about what should or shouldn't be in the bylaw. And I just wonder whether it's served its purpose pretty adequately up until now, and contemplating wholesale changes or agonising over the way in which we do or don't do things in the context of us exiting the provision of stock water altogether, might guide us towards more of a rollover of the existing bylaw, so that we have the protection of the bylaw for only 2 more years, because after that we won't be providing the service and the bylaw will be presumably redundant and irrelevant. Otherwise we run the risk of grappling with these complex issues for a very short period of time when the existing bylaw hasn't caused us to question its value at all up until the point that it's expired. Just a potential way of looking at the overall issues.
Councillor Ellis?
Thank you. In principle, I agree with that. The only problem being is some races will stay in existence for ecological type reasons. Just the funding of those will be to a different party, but those races will still need to be cleaned. So access will still need to be available for those races that will stay.
Yes, they won't be protected, however, by a water race bylaw, because there won't be stock water races in existence. There will be waterways for other purposes, and we will have to turn our mind to how other waterways should be maintained. But whatever is in this bylaw will presumably expire when we're out of the service.
This is water races, not stock water races.
Councillor Cameron?
I support that position from Councillor Ellis. Essentially, I think in 2 years there'll be another discussion and another frame of how we manage our races in the district. But I think leave it in situ, because we're going to grapple with these 6 metres or 3 metres or riparian planting or damaging, and we've managed thus far in an ad hoc fashion. So I suggest we just lay it on the table and revisit in 2 years when we're more cognizant of the facts and what's staying open and what's not staying open.
I can give an assurance that the Water Race Closure Working Group is contemplating this as it goes through the process, and that will come back to council to make a decision in the future. So this is not the end of this, you could say. It will be contemplated in the future, but that will come back through the Water Race Working Group. So from that, can we look to leave the current wording in place? We do acknowledge that in the future things could change, but we now to try and maintain the status quo until we resolve the closure process. Richard?
Unless there were any further questions on the previous slide, the last slide is the officer's recommendations. The first recommendation is that no amendments be made to the bylaw. The second recommendation is that submitter be informed that there is flexibility in the bylaw to accommodate alternative effective cleaning methods on main races at the request of the owner, provided that methods are allowed under our resource consents and additional costs are recovered from the owner. The third recommendation is an optional recommendation, but point 2 could be added into the bylaw as an explanatory note. And the fourth recommendation is that officers be directed to bring the bylaw to council for adoption on the 3rd of September, giving effect to the recommendations above.
Any discussion on those recommendations? Councillor McMillan?
I would like that point 2 to be added in as an explanatory note.
Could we get a comment from Mr. McCann on, operationally, would that work? Point 2.
Yes, I think so. I think we can work with that.
further comments on the recommendation? No? So we're looking for
Yes, I am.
sorry, Councillor Brown.
I'm quite happy with number 2 as well. And if you start reading what we have here, you can do a lot. 6 meters, 3 meters, 1 meters, 1.5 meters height. The plants, it's all there. I'm not sure why we're sitting here.
So from that, we could confirm that direction to officers to change the draft bylaw and bring that back to the council on, we've got perhaps the 3rd of December, is that? September, sorry, December, not September, sorry. Okay, good. Is that anything else you'd like to add, Richard?
No, just thank you all for your time.
Okay, thank you. So we'll bring that to a close. Thank you.